Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of IEEE's Alumni Podcast. I am Naresh. I'll be the host for this first episode. Today, with us, we have Mr. Vivek Keshava. Vivek is an alumnus of the 2018 batch from SJCE. He studied electronics and communication during his time here at SJCE. He was also the chairman of IEEE during his final year, and he was part of the team that went to the final round of innovation contest conducted by Texas Instruments with their own invention of smart electric bulb for an average Indian household. They were among the 20 teams out of 15,000 that secured seed funding for creating prototype design of their device, for which members of the team hold US patent. That's very interesting. Currently, Vivek is a software developer at Microfocus and he works on networking. Welcome to the podcast, Vivek. It's great to have you.
Hello, everyone. Um, it's really great to be back at IEEE SJC. And as part of this Alumni Podcast, I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences both at the college as well as my workplace. So, yeah, hello.
Hi. So you have a very interesting trajectory there. Electronics, you go on to a startup environment kind of thing. You pitch your ideas to the VC, and then you land up in the software engineering focus. So the general trajectory that is observable is electronics to software engineering, and in between you had this interesting maneuver of like pitching for the VCs. So what was that experience like? Your can you just share something about that?
Yes. Okay, that was an interesting question also because in my final year, that was a very interesting project which we took up. It was a year-long project, if I can just say a few lines about that. So in the final year, we came across a design contest in Texas Instrument followed by DST. So actually, it was a group of four members who were. It was a group of four members who initially applied for the idea and got through the idea, and then they invited me to be a part of the team. So it was my close friends Ashwant, Sanjay, Amit and Veerbhadra. So they were. It was part of their final year project where they tried to pitch in this same idea to the Texas Instrument IACDC challenge. So once we started the journey, they invited me also to be a part of the journey, and then we applied to that particular competition. That competition was actually converting a simple idea into a product. So the whole idea of that whole exercise was to convert just an idea. Like we always have ideas, right? In throughout our life, we have ideas, but the motivation to convert them into a finished product is not something we always go for it because maybe lack of resources, lack of time, lack of motivation, etc. So, but this gave us a platform for us to convert our idea into a finished product. So they invited me to be a part of their team, and we as a whole a 5-member team were able to achieve that. So it was, I think, in the first round there were around 15,000 ideas across the country, where we were shortlisted in the first round, second round, third round, and finally the third round. I think we were selected around 30 top 30 teams across the country. We were given a seed funding of certain amount, and we were asked to come up with a prototype design of the idea which we had proposed. So for the first time in my engineering, we were trying to actually come up with a product, going to the manufacturers, trying to get them to get the design. We working as a team, working on our strategy, like how will you pitch it? I mean, it's the evaluators were from IIM Bangalore. They wanted us to come up with a business plan. So we as a team sat together, put up a business plan, what we thought was right, and then it was a year-long experience to come up with it. But then by the time by the time it was the finals, all of us were, I think, placed in numerous MNCs and companies. I mean, we all had offers in hand, all the five of us. So then I think the finals. By the time I think the finals were there, we were almost passed out of SJC, because it was the final year, and then we passed out of SJC. So then we all had offers in our hand, and we thought, I would say we gave our best, but we were not sure of taking that step. So I think we went back and we thought, let's continue with our work, and that's how it went forward.
Yeah, thank you. So that's quite fascinating. Like if you just look at uh, the part, engineering part of your life, like I think very few people end up, like towards the end of their engineering track, end up working on project that gets built into a product, and that not only it does not just stop there at the technical level. It also, like, you also got the opportunity to go ahead and like show your product and pitch it to the venture capitalists and other people from IIMB and get a validation for that. So that's a very, I would say, like, that's a very satisfying culmination to your engineering student life. So let's just find out more about like how you got interested in this field. Like why did you get into the field of engineering itself, and why did you get into SJC specifically, or what got you to study electronics and communication?
Okay, so I don't have a straight answer for that, but let me start by saying that in my early days, before like maybe PU or something, I was totally interested in computers and writing code for what do you call? We used to have these computer lab sessions back in 11th and 12th. So we used to, I mean, we friends used to. We had a very small class, around 15 or 20 people. So we used to sit together and write some code for. I mean, we used to build that. What do you call that? Snake game. We used to build that snake game, and I mean, at homes we used to play all the latest CS or such games. But when you go to the computer lab, you obviously had to write some code, right? I mean, the teacher expected you to write some code and make something work. So then we started trying to see, okay, we anyway have to write code. So it was CPP mainly, which I used to do it back in 11th and 12th. So, I mean, we have to write code, but then the teacher give us an option. You can either write particular programs, or you can come up with a project which you can build throughout for like 6 months and submit me a report at the end of the year. So we thought, okay, why not utilize that? And we used to build some very small games, like what do you call snake game, the one we used to play in that Nokia 11000. So we used to build it using a very simple interface. I think what do you call code blocks. We used to build using code blocks. So that is, and then that is my start. That is where I thought, okay, building something using code is pretty fascinating. But then there were certain experiments, some robotics, kind of very at basic level stuff. We used to have some ready-made kits where you can join stuff and see. I mean, I think most of you would connect better if I say snap circuits, which we used to have in the first year of engineering through IEEE or something. So that kind of things we had back in 12th also. So those kind of things, I thought like, okay, maybe we can do this kind of workings got me interested into the working of the products. Maybe whatever products I was trying to I mean, understand, like how does it work like this. So the only option I saw for that was engineering. So then the other option is which branch to take. I thought maybe, okay, electronics and communication or computer science, either of the two. So why I got into JC is it was just a normal decision which I don't have any specific reason for. So I got into electronic and communication, which was my first option. Then I thought, okay, I can write code. I can do something with electronics. Maybe I can go into the field of robotics, is what I had when I joined electronics and communication department. And I wouldn't be wrong when I say some of the superhero movies also tried to push me towards electronics and communication. But then I think it took its course. Yeah.
That's nice. That's very interesting. Superhero movies are something um, which a lot of people get motivated to do engineering. I remember mine was watching Iron Man. Before that, I wanted to pursue medical, but Iron Man kind of like changed my perspective. So there are a few couple of things that you mentioned: robotics, IEEE, snap circuits. So how it's basically your these clubs. Did you end up exploring more about robotics during your time when you were in college? Did you uh, how did you take forward your interest in electronics that had started when you were in PU, and how did you make the best use of that interest to learn more about during your engineering life?
Right. Okay. This has an interesting answer. So when I started with engineering, the first year was, I mean, we have a mix of subjects, mainly theoretical. But I'm a computer enthusiast who has come into the first year, and where we had a very pretty good electronics teacher uh, who tried to get us more interested into that field. So it was everything pretty cool, and our seniors from IEEE SJCE came in, and they're like, "We build robots." So everyone is like, "Yes, this is the way to go." So we didn't get to do much in the labs in the first year. So I think that is when everyone said, if you want to get practical experience, if you want to do something related. So, but as in when I went to second year, then I saw that, okay, the theory part of electronics starts. And then we get all into the base. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, you need theory to get into the practical aspects, but somehow I was not able to get myself interested in the theory part of the subject. So that's when I saw a shining alternative in the other side, which was IEEE. So then I thought, okay, this is the way to go. So most of my time, I think I went to college, did something. I mean, attended all the classes. Then I thought, if I want to learn something more, I think this is where I had to be. So I drifted towards the student clubs, maybe even LCC. I think that was another prominent club. We used to attend all the uh, coding sessions. I had a very good peer group, actually, to be honest. So we were like, let us go, let us make a team, let us go here, let us build something here, let us build some small projects. I mean, looking back, all those projects are very small. I think my first year project was something like Smart Curtain, where uh, if what do you call the curtains the curtains had to adapt to the sunlight. I think that was my first project which I submitted for one of the clubs. But then looking back, I think each one of those steps has been amazing. Looking back, so I thought, if I'm not going to learn much in the theory part, then I think at least I should gain some experience and spend more time in the workshops and other aspects. So that is how I got naturally inclined towards uh, the clubs.
Well, so that's cool explanation. So it seemed like you were very much involved in building projects during your spare time, or also during at IEEE and at LCC. So how did you balance out your extracurricular activities, like such as building projects, with your academics, given that like at G when you're at JC, you're writing 5 events, and it's basically just the first month which goes off in a jiffy, and after that it's like you don't know when the next event or the next internals pops up on your calendar. So what was your strategy to balance both?
Okay. In the first year, I think I don't know. We had so much of energy that we went to all the workshops and attended all the events, and I mean, got all the good grades. I think that is how it happened in the first year. But then after 1 year, you kind of get experience to the 5 events, and getting past the exams. So I would say it's not much of an effort if you can put your mind uh, to get past the exams. In fact, even in JC, but looking back, I think that was one thing I would want to change. Rather than just getting past the exams, I think if I had learned something better there, it would be interesting. I mean, it would be more helpful for me as a person. But so my main focus was, I mean, to be the other places. So I think that is what I was trying to manage. I mean, Academics is 5 events. I think first year you'll feel it's very hectic. Maybe the second year also it kind of becomes hectic in the first sem, third sem, but then you kind of get adjusted to it and you say, oh, this is another event, and you just move forward. But yeah, having a good peer group to go forward to, I think it's pretty good. I mean, if your peer group is always like, oh, let's build something. I mean, let's build projects and let's work on this. Let's go to this workshop. It's a competitive feeling that you have with your peers, right? I mean, they motivate you to keep up with the academics as well as this one. So I had a very extremely good peer group, which I would say like each one of one was had his or own talent, and it was amazing to be part of such a group. So one thing, another thing which JC provides you is that the peer group. I mean, we had people all over the country coming to JC, so it was a very good peer group which I did my engineering with. So I would say to that.
Yeah, that's very rightly said by you. Like peer group is something that JC plays a very important part in your life, and I'm sure JC does a great job of providing you with that group of individuals with whom you can associate and like carve out yourself. It might not really make much like you might not feel the same when you're actually like uh, trying to go through it during the time 4 years that you're spending, but definitely once you're out of college you get to feel that realization that some of the people that you met at JC have left a far greater impact on you than you can imagine. So that's
Yeah,
very, yeah, so that's very nice of you to say that. Like it's something that even I experience, and it's like some of the relationships and friends that I have made, uh, both professionally and in terms of networking. I think I got a really good platform, and also was able to, and I've been able to maintain that, like even now. Like it's not like it's not a long time that I've been out of JC, but still it's very nice. So w- did you, so during this time that you were like trying to uh, navigate your life and balancing out a couple few things, your academics, your extracurriculars, and your also some of the personal projects and everything that you had. So what would you do differently if you had to do it all over again? Like what part of this would you want more of from your life that you spent at JC, or the 4 years of engineering that you spent from 2014 to 2018 at JC?
okay. So first thing I would say that the 4 years, whatever I've spent in JC, the 4 years of engineering have been amazing, and I think there's almost nothing which I would uh, try to do differently. Thinking about it now, but if there is one aspect which I told before, like I told before, was having a better grasp on electronics from a theoretical point of view. I think that is one thing which I would probably try to improve if I had a chance to go back.
Okay, so so the lesson here for the viewers is listen to your lectures and
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that's cool. That's a very good. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
have that realization in the hindsight that
yeah, but
you
yes.
should have not bunked as much as we had bunked. But talking about bunking, like did you bunk classes, or were you like a person who had 100% attendance, or what what what
Uh,
what what were you like?
yeah, so the first year I think I was the 100% attendance type, where we used to attend all the classes and go through all the things. But then second year, third year, I think that is when IEEE happened and all the things. You make your own friend group, you try to bunk classes and go ahead. I think after that it was all college was just a part of it. I would say, like college went to the side track and something else came to the main track.
Hmm. So where did you go generally, like bunking classes? Like, did you have a spot specifically?
Uh,
Was it BB code? Was it DRC, or what was it?
I don't remember any such specific spots, but I would say maybe Downs was one thing which we had initially, where we used to hang out, and then I think Downs. I don't know how. I think it has changed pretty much now. I think we used to. I mean, in the final year, then we used to go to some hotels in the morning and stuff like that. I mean, JC has a pretty early timing where we come to class at 7:30. And I think after that, in the final years, I think we used to go to somewhere. I mean, eating was the better aspect of final year. So yeah,
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
Downs. I would say Downs as one, and I don't exactly remember the spots.
Yeah. Have you been to Downs lately? Did you like? Do you know? I mean, lately in the sense like now there's with this pandemic. I don't know if there are any opportunities for you to go there, but before that, it was getting remodeled, right?
Yeah. I haven't had the opportunity to go there after that. No.
Hmm. So let's just try to go a little bit more faster towards some of knowing something about what misconceptions did you have while entering engineering or during your time of engineering, and how has that evolved into right things after you got out of your college or like during your professional life? Like, how did you formulate your thought process and correct yourself?
Okay. Misconceptions I had. Okay. Um, yeah, actually, there is one thing which I would say as a misconception I had, which was that while your time in college, I was of the impression that you only do learning in college and you work at a industry. So all the learning what you want to do, you do it in college, and when you come out of the college, you just go to the industry and work. So that was the misconception. I would definitely say it's a misconception. That was a misconception I had when I joined engineering as well as when I joined work. But then when I looked into it, the 2 years which I've been working, I mean, I've been working since 2 years, since I'm a 2018 pass out. I would say every day is a learning. So the learning is a process which did not stop the moment I left college. So I think it is an everyday process. Even in the work, it's not like you do only work. I mean, you're just giving some production level code and you write code and stuff like that. No, it's not that. You learn every day. You learn new concepts. You learn new technology. Learn to apply it. Do some R&D. I think that is one misconception. I think if any of the students have, I think you should clear it, because learning and building both go hand in hand. You learn new things and you try to apply them. You build projects. It's a continuous learning. It's a continuous learning process throughout. So that is one thing I think one of the misconceptions I had personally.
Well, that's nice. That's really good information to know. So now that you're working, how's your like how can you explain to us like what your nature of work is like? Obviously, you mentioned that you do coding, but generally, like what kind of technology do you work on, and what part of that do you like?
Okay, so I work at the Microfocus Bangalore. It's a London-based MNC. So what we basically do is, I personally work in the network node manager team. So sorry, network operations management team, which is called NOM. Uh, so we have certain products which industries use to monitor their network applications. For example, a router, a switch, and all those things, all the networking devices. So we have a application software which will monitor all these networking devices and consolidate their what do you call all the appliances. For example, imagine a huge Cisco building with thousands of routers, thousands of switches, thousands of CPU systems. So we have a central software, application software, which will personally monitor all those devices and apply appliances. So you need to have just one operator to monitor all those systems. So it's a continuous evolving process where we try to build in new functionalities, try to bring in analytics, try to make try to bring in analytics, and continuously improve the process. So that is the core product which I work on. So to give you a concise note, I basically write application code to the same product, which is NOM. It's a continuous iterative process which we go through. So PI after PI, we build in new features, I mean, you come up with new designs, new trial and error methods. For example, you come up with a specific messaging bus, you try it for some time, it does not work, you put it aside, you bring in a new messaging bus. So I mean, since Micro Focus is a product based company, I think we have the opportunity to do a trial and error method with the softwares we use. So maybe I think last PI we had something called Apache Kafka, which we were using as a pipeline uh, um, for our product. But then we thought that, okay, this is not scalable to the amount which we want. So the scalability took a hit. So then the higher management decided to come up with a new pipeline, which was Apache Pulsar. So right now, I think that is where the work is going on. So that's it I had.
So how did you end up at Micro Focus? Like, was it through campus placements, or was it through your own pathfinding or external application? Like, how did you end up at Micro Focus?
Okay. So it was through campus placement itself. Like JC has the final year, you try to sit for placements. I think from the beginning of the final year, we start preparing for placements and try to sit for it. I think that is when I started applying for companies, started sitting for them. I think I attended 2-3 interviews first. I think I didn't get through the first 2 interviews. I think SAP and I don't know one more. I think 2 or 3 interviews I didn't get through, and then Micro Focus came into campus. I think it was HP back then, which was with the part of HP that got merged with Micro Focus. So then I got recruited as part of the campus placement process.
So what was your preparation like for campus placements? Like, what did you do that like made you that helped you crack the interview of Micro Focus back then, HP, uh,
Yeah.
during when
Okay.
they attended?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I would bring back to my previous point saying the peer group which you have is very important, right? So my peer group which I had was before we even knew, we even started preparing for campus placement at the right time. So we had all the people working towards that. I mean, together. So when you work together, I mean, it's a great it's a great atmosphere around you. So I think we went to one coaching called, what is that? I think the Arakyaswamy coaching which we attended that. I mean, I think he taught some basic of placement and stuff like that. And then I think we were coding online in Hacker Earth, HackerRank, trying to get ourselves accustomed with the codes, writing code. I mean, trying to get ourselves with, because we knew that software will be the dominant part of the placement process. And my interest also somehow aligned to that side itself. And that's why I ended up in the software domain itself. So the placement preparation started with going for Arakyaswamy coaching, cracking lead code, HackerRank, Hacker Earth, all those problems. And that's when that was the preparation. I think self-preparation is also a huge chunk which everyone should concentrate on.
You mentioned a lot of information there, which is I think, very helpful for the students. So a lot of them fall in the category of what the students need to do if they want to, like, land a great job for themselves. So are there any don'ts that you would like to share during the whole interview process? Like, for example, you can, if you remember, you can share something that you think went wrong during your SAP interview, or any other company that you interviewed, the second company that you interviewed at.
Right. Actually, I can remember one thing, but it's not for the specific interview.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, don't compare yourself with the person around you. So as much as I say that your peer group is important, the atmosphere in which you're preparing is important, it's also necessary to have the right mindset, right? I mean, you cannot say that the other person is getting placed, why am I not getting placed? I mean, having a healthy competition is important as long as you don't try to compare yourself with the other person. So I think you should do your preparation, and concentrate on your plus points, improve your strengths, and concentrate on your preparations. Not, I mean, obviously it will be like people are getting placed around you. That is bound to happen, right? I mean, companies are coming, people are getting placed, and that is bound to happen. So in the meanwhile, I think you should be focused on your preparation, your strengths, play on your strengths. That's what I try to say. And as far as what went wrong in the interviews, uh, maybe the question, the way I answered them may be different. I think there'll be a lot of puzzle type questions, like they would want to check your logical thinking, analytical thinking, all those things. But eventually I think everyone, after one or two interview experiences, you will be in a position to prepare yourself, improve your weaknesses, play on your strengths. I think that will happen eventually. So I would say, irrespective of the things happening around you, I think you should concentrate on making your interview preparation the best you can.
So
Okay.
did you do any internship before, or was this the job experience that you have currently, the job that you got it in? Was that the first professional experience that you got?
No, I did not have any internship prior. So I think I directly went to Micro Focus in August 2018. That was the first thing I had ever come into for a corporate culture. So before that, I did not have any prior experience.
So how was it to experience the corporate culture? Like you're coming out from an academic setup where you are learning a lot of things, and you're learning for exams. I feel um, it's more like you are being pointed towards where you need to go and what to learn. And did how is learning as a part of training at Microfocus different from the college experience, and how is it better, or what are the parts that you like, and what do you think is better at college, and what is better at Microfocus experience?
Okay. So actually, Microfocus does not have a specific training course as such. I think many other companies also do not have a specific training schedule as such. It's all on the floor training. They call it on the floor training. Like you just go for it and work for a team. You start picking up small tasks, and keep your building up your capabilities. I mean, because since it's a product based company, you need to understand the product first. So when I was put into the norm team, I mean, so I was just out of college. I mean, I was relaxing all the 3 months, not much preparation. And then when I went to Bangalore, and they put me into a team, and I said, okay, let me try to adapt how much ever I can. But then when I started, it was like, initially, I think the team members were very welcoming, and they were trying to uh, give me small certain tasks to start off with. But one big advantage which I had is an alumni of JC, just 2 years in of electronics and communication branch was in my team itself. So I think his name was Ramakrishna. So he was part of my team itself. And the first thing I asked him, yeah, Yauru. He's like, then I think he's from Sirsi, and we struck immediately. And then slowly I started learning a lot from them. And one main difference what I saw is, in college, it's like the teacher tells you something, you listen to it and you work, or whoever is the instructor is there, you try to get from them. Or maybe you go online, search for some courses, try to get received from them. But here you try to come up with an approach, and then you try to learn from your teammates. Your teammate has a different perspective on the same problem which you are trying to solve, right? So each, like in my team, there were around 5 people. We were 5 people. I think I was the youngest, and I think Ramakrishna was next. After that, I think everyone had like 10 plus experience. And they had a different perspective on how the problem has to be solved. So I think learning happened as a due process, and it was just natural. So initially, I don't think first 2 3 months I learned much. It was just trying to understand the product, what is the product, how to use the tools, what is the product all about. It is like it's like a huge product. I mean, people have written code since years together for that, and it has become a huge legacy product. And you try to understand like what changes if you do, what will happen. I mean, I try to break few stuff also here and there, but then at the end of the day, I think it's all part of the learning process.
So do you still have this peer group outside of your work that you like explore your work on other projects that are not related to your work and try to build something with that?
Yes, that I have actually in Bangalore. I live with my flatmates. We are five friends from college. So right off, I mean that friends that group also I got it from my JC itself. They were very close friends of mine. So we got together a house in Bangalore because we all work nearby. I mean nearby companies we worked. So it was a great experience being part of that group. I mean, ours was not a normal group where we used to think. Yeah, we did think about partying on Saturdays and Friday nights. But then the other time we were all like, okay, what projects can we build? What hobby projects can we build? That was the atmosphere which was there. So even now, I think we try to whenever we get. I wouldn't say whenever we get free time because we keep building every day. We try to make time to build those projects. So we keep building on hobby projects, and it's just interest we take in building small software projects. But right now it's almost all software projects which we try to build because that is what we are interested into. We still build a small projects like hobby projects with my peer group. Yes.
So are you thinking of something like a startup, or is that your eventual goal? Like to take experience, learn a lot of different things from being in the industry, and then probably eventually think about coming up with your own startup or a company. Is that something that you're focusing on, or if not, what's your vision for yourself?
Okay, so I'm not yet thought about the level of startup, and I mean, I would love to be part of that culture, but right now it's hobby projects is just like we are interested in it, so we just want to build it. We want to see what is the impact it is going to have. Like, who are the people who are going to use it? How will they feel when they use it? That is what I personally am interested in, and even my peer group also. I think that is what we are looking into. We just want to see how our solution can be put it in someone else's hands and see how it can do a difference in for them. So that is what is our initial thoughts on the process. But on the long term, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the what will it evolve into. I don't know. I'm pretty not sure there. But vision for myself would be to contribute something significantly for this software domain is what I'm looking forward to. But how I will do it is still something I have to figure it out. So I would still say I'm still figuring out how will I do that in my long term. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you will figure it out. I mean, it definitely does seem that you have a very good uh, peer group, and I have happen to know all of them, if not so who you're
True that.
currently
Yeah.
working
Correct.
with. So I definitely know that when you say that it's a different group, it's not like a group that is always wanting to party, or I mean, no offense to the people who always want to party. I think that will be my uh, thing. What I would want to do if I would want something more from SJC would be to, like, party more.
More partying. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely understand when you say what do you mean by it's a different group. So we are getting some questions from our viewers who are listening to this podcast. So one of the question is, do we really need to take the college curriculum seriously, or is it okay if we just pass on? Like, does the curriculum subject really help in future, maybe a job or something?
Okay. I think I have a perfect example for you there. Uh, there will come a network OS and networking subject in your fifth semester. I think fifth semester. So interestingly, I work in the networking domain. Though I am a software developer where I work only with application software, uh, my application software interacts with the underlying architecture of networking. So you need to understand what is an IP, how will the IP contact with each other, what is subnetting, because when the other person, maybe the architect, the solution architects, keep giving you lectures like, the subnet is not right. I mean, you have to give it a separate subnet, you have to route it here. So if you had concentrated for all the topics, your curriculum topics back in college, it would be better to understand, right? It would go hand in hand. Though I know that my passion lies in software engineering and I like coding, it's always a plus point to have a broader understanding of things. So I would say passing on is not something you should do, but you can.
So okay. So you are saying unless and until you're learning what you are supposed to learn, it does not matter where you're learning it from, be it college or be it work or be it any other resource that you're learning from.
Yes, correct, correct. For example, now if the networking was not part of my curriculum, I would have to learn everything from scratch in my work. So I saved that time by learning already in college. So I think it was easier for me to grasp all the concepts in my office. I mean, in my workspace. So in that way, I think it's a very huge plus point for me being in the networking domain.
Hmm. That's very nice way of putting it. So we have second question, which is, did you consider doing masters, or how important is a master's degree in the industry? So what's your perspective on that? Like, you have been in the industry for 2 years. Um, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, this is just my perspective. So I would say you need to listen to everyone's perspective and then make your own decision. I think that is what the best advice I can give you. So as far as masters is considered, I did consider doing masters, but only after. I mean, in my final year of college, I didn't have that much understanding of like why should you do a master? I mean, what is the advantage if you do a masters? I didn't have much understanding on that aspect, but I wanted to work for some time because all along I was studying electronics. I mean, very little coding which I used to do in college, but then I thought, let me work for some time, let me understand how the industry works, what is going on, what is the current trends in the industry, and then make my decision. So if you ask me now, is masters helpful? I think it might be helpful, but I wouldn't say it is. It is everything. I wouldn't say it is everything. I think maybe in the further podcasts, I think we can. I'm sure you'll invite people from who have done their masters. So maybe it would be better to get their perspective as well. If masters is newly received. From an industry point of view, I feel uh, it's two things, right? You put all your time into learning, which is masters, or you try to learn in your experiences on your job, that is the working. So I don't know, I cannot give you a clear answer for that, but I would say in my environment there is a mixture of people. I know people who have 20 years of experiences, uh, who have no masters, and there are people with 10 years of experiences who have masters also. And there is one tech lead in my own team. So interestingly, he was working for. He was a teacher actually. He completed his masters. He was doing some teaching at MIT, I think Manipal. He was teaching computers, and after some time, he got bored, and he was like, "Let me switch to the software industry." So then he's working for the software industry for the past 7 years. So I would say there is no right way to go for it. I think whatever you feel is suitable, what you feel you can explore, I think you should go for that particular path. And again, this is just my perspective.
So you're saying that there is no absolute answer to whether one should mandatorily do masters or not, but it completely depends on you. If you feel there is a need, you can do it, and otherwise you can do very well even without having a master degree.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah.
But having a degree helps. That's what also I would also like to say. I mean, having a degree really helps is what also I would like to mention.
Mhm. Okay, that's very cool. That's very helpful. I think whoever asked the question has got their answer. So you mentioned about trends in your answer to the previous question. So we have a question on that. So according to you, which industry or which industries are gonna blow up in India in the next 5 years?
Okay. Which industry? So is it like are you asking like hardware? I mean, manufacturing industry, software industry, or which domain is going to blow up? I'm not sure. But as far as what I can see, there are a lot of jobs, software engineering jobs, which I come across in Bangalore itself. Like if you just consider Bangalore as a small city, of course, Bangalore is the capital of startup capital of India, IT capital of India, all those things. But if you consider just Bangalore as a small um, sample space, I would say there are a lot of job openings for software industry and software engineering jobs. So considering that aspect, I would say uh, software engineering will definitely be there's some more years to come. I mean, it will always be, but it will not be in its raw form, but it will get evolved into more more of data science, analytics. All those things are going to be a huge part of the industry. I think that is what the industry is moving towards too.
So data is a big part, is what you're trying to say.
Yes, yes. Data analytics, AI is going to be a big part of the industry, is what I feel.
Hmm. Cool. Yeah. So I think that's most of the questions that we had. So I think we'll talk about your life at Microfocus. So there's one question which says work-life balance at Microfocus. So can you help our viewer or our listener understand what is it like to work at Microfocus? From a You have talked a lot about the technical aspect of your work. So I think what he or she is trying to ask is about the people that you work at Microfocus with, and also how what do you feel when you're working there with the work that you're doing.
Okay. So the work-life balance in Microfocus is pretty good, I would say. So I mean, we have two setups, right? Right now, I'm working from home from Mysore, so that is a different kind of work-life balance. And back in Bangalore is a different kind of work-life balance. So in Bangalore, it was mostly like pretty much the 9 to 5 which we talk about. So let me just give you a small hint of how work gets done in Microfocus. I mean, I did not know this back in college, so that's why I would like to share. So it's something like every 2 weeks, all the 5 members of your team sit together. We are given a certain objective, which is called a PI object. So actually, we have something called a Scrum. So Scrum is a part of an agile process. So agile is a process which we follow for software development. So there are a few models like waterfall model and stuff like that. So the waterfall model is you keep on developing one by one, one by one, one by one. At the end, you deploy everything together. So that is a waterfall model. Whereas we follow the agile development model, which is a continuous deployment model. You do some changes, work it for 2 weeks. After 3 months, you deploy. So that is a agile development model. So in that, each 3 months activity is divided into sprints. So we are a team of five sits together. We are given the work for the next 2 weeks. We try to come up with an estimate. Okay, we say this work requires around 4 days of time, maybe 3 days of time. We put a random estimate, and then we decide who will take up which task. I mean, if you're interested to take up that task, you can just say, I'm going for that task. I will pick it up. So you pick that up task and do it end to end. So you yourself would have come up with an estimate saying that I will take 2 days to complete this task. So if you can just complete in 2 days, it should be good enough. So that is how work gets done in the corporate, in at least in Microfocus corporate culture. So I think it's pretty good because you give your own estimates and you try to meet them, and if not, try to do it better. So in that way, work-life balance, I would say the pretty much 9 to 5 would take up most of your time in working, and then pretty much free to do your projects or hobby projects or whatever.
Hmm. So one part of what you mentioned was it's important that you should know what your skills are. You should be aware of yourself so that like you can give an estimate of how long it will take for you to complete a particular project, and
Correct, correct.
then work
Yes,
towards achieving that. So it depends on how you manage yourself. So you do your work faster and quicker, you probably have greater chance of making that work life balance achievable.
correct,
If you're
correct. Yes,
if
that's
you're
true.
lagging, then it is your responsibility that you need to work, and the balance will shift more towards work.
Yes, that would be right. Yes.
Cool. So can you name some of the projects that are working now, or what technologies you're using to build projects? Like from I think what here the question is like the projects apart from your what you're doing at Microfocus.
Okay, you want to know my hobby projects? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we came up with a couple of ideas. We were trying to build some Android app for productivity. So we were thinking on a different perspective for productivity. So we were trying to come up with an Android app for that. But then after the end of that day, we felt it is same as any other app, and then we stalled that project. So that is where we started. After that, we went for uh, what do you call some smart manager kind of app where you had to manage your SMS kind of some smart SMS manager kind of project we used to work on. I mean, this is just we work for a personal use, right? So we wanted something to be done differently, but then we saw that some other apps have already nearly similar ideas. So then we thought, okay, then what's the point of doing this? So then we came back on the project. So it's all like going forward, coming back, going forward, coming back. That's where it is. So that was some of the projects which we did, but maybe we would get some really good, interesting project, and we would be able to build an end-to-end solution which would be deployable. I'm hoping so.
So when you have an idea for a project in mind, like how do you go about it? Like, do you have any resources that you would like to share that you find are helpful? Like, I know being a software developer, like Stack Overflow and Google Search is inseparable. But other than that, do you have any more specifics of how do you find out what is it that you're lacking, and how do you go up and learn that?
Hmm. Okay. Let me just tell you that in case of software engineering, anything you want is available online. From any front end framework you want, or you want to decide, okay, which is the best database I can use? Can I use SQL? Can I use MongoDB? Can I use Cassandra? Or which do you think is the best DB? So to make the decision, uh, um, so there is resources to tell how you can use MongoDB and how you can integrate MongoDB to Spring, but you don't have resources to decide whether MongoDB is better or SQL is better for your project. So that is one thing which you will learn if you do projects on your own. Of course, you will learn how to use MongoDB and SQL with your Spring or Django or whichever framework you use, but some resource, I think everything is available online. So most of the time I just go for I think YouTube would be one great resource to learn anything. And we have Udacity, Coursera, of the usual ones which are there. uh, the Udacity, Coursera, I mean, but most of the time it's not like I do any course. So maybe, okay, I don't know Android development. I did not know Android development in my college years. I mean, towards third year or something. Then I just took up a course in Udacity, did a basic Android development course. So then at the end of the day, I was like, okay, maybe I can build an app easily. So that's where I was. Then I mean, mainly my work is focused on backend. So I did not have much idea of front end. So then I took up a course in Udacity, yes. I took up a course by Colt. So then I went for it, and he taught few frameworks, front end, JavaScript, JS, Node.js, Express, Mongo. So it was a good experience. I mean, you need to build your skills based on your projects. So one plus point of doing projects is you also try to build your skills. So I would say that would be an interesting way of looking at how to do projects. So there are a lot of resources out there. You just have to decide what you want to do. I mean, that applies for me itself, me also.
Hmm. So basically, projects tell you what to learn for rather than you learning something and then seeking for what projects to do.
Yes, that would be true in my case, of course.
So it's a top-down approach that you use, which is helping you, and different projects might have different requirements, and SQL might be helpful at one place, and MongoDB might be useful at some other place. They are not mutually exclusive, or neither are they all-encompassing solution. And in order to find out what to use when and where, projects help you a lot. So did I try to make a good consolidation of that?
Yes, that would be correct. That would be absolutely true. Yes.
Okay. So we have two more questions. So one is regarding corporate life. So what it says is, are there very frequent downfalls in corporate life or company life? If so, what should be our go-to for such situations?
Hmm. Okay. Um, so I think this COVID situation would have exposed few of the downfalls. Like we hear stories of people getting fired and stuff. But the situation is now also not so bad because if you are confident on your skills, if you have the relevant skills for required for the industry, I think you are immediately employable. So if you're thinking on that aspect as a downfall, then I would say you need to work on yourself. You need to improve your skill sets and keep improving. I think that is one thing which would be a go-to for individuals. Other than that, corporate downfalls, I'm not sure what does it mean actually. I think that's what I took it for.
Hmm. Okay. So just focus on building yourself, and you'll find a way out.
Correct. Keep learning. I mean, keep learning and investing on yourself. I think that would be the best thing I can say.
Hmm. Okay. So this is one more. I think this is the last question from the audience. It's what aspect should one keep in mind while preparing their resume?
Huh, okay. Resume. I mean, yeah. Resume. I think you need to like keep it concise. Don't keep too much elaborate briefs. So keep it concise. Keep it small. Keep all your key strengths. Play on your strengths. Keep all your strengths on the top. I mean, I think for doing projects, another plus point of doing your projects is you get to add something on your resume. So I think people will be more interested about talking on your project rather than saying maybe you have learned Spring or maybe you have learned Django. So obviously you have learned Django. Everyone learns Django, but what have you done after learning it? I mean, have you applied in your project? Have you tried building? I mean, see, success and failure is a second thing, right? If you completed your project, that's a secondary thing. But have you tried applying whatever you have learned in your projects? I think that would give a more impact to the um, interviewer. And I can only answer from my limited experience with interviews. But I would say I think keeping your projects, playing on your strengths, and keeping it as concise as possible would be a better way to go about your resumes. And maybe you can check up few TypeScripts which is available online, just to format your resumes to the correct types. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. I think I would like to share something about resume here. So from my personal experience, what I feel is, like you need to create different resumes for different companies, and it's not like it's your resume is not a one size fit all kind of thing. For example, if you're going for an interview at Micro Focus, your resume should be highlighting different aspects from what it would be if you were going for an interview at Cypress Semiconductor, because they are different industry and it also depends on the role that you're applying for. So spend some time before you interview on creating resume that is tailored to that one particular company for or one particular role that you're interviewing for. So
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. When in college, yes, because a lot of companies will be coming, different kinds of companies will be coming to your college. So I think you should have a tailor-made resume for each of the companies. True.
hmm. So we'll end this podcast with a few rapid fire questions. So you do not have a lot of time to think on this, and these
Okay.
are fairly simple questions. So let me know when you're ready. I'll just start asking you a few questions.
Okay. Sure. I'm ready. Yeah. Let's go for it.
Okay, Nescafe or Yampa?
Yampa.
Okay, Kanan
It's a
Bakery or
one-word
Downs?
answer, right?
Yeah, Kanan Bakery or
Okay.
Downs?
Downs.
BB Court or parking?
Parking.
7:30 a.m. class or 3:30 p.m. class?
3:30.
Obtaining output in lab or creating output in lab?
Creating output in lab.
Using chits in exam or mobile?
I would say neither, but chit would be better.
Okay, so those were the questions that we had, and it was great to have you on the podcast and learn about your experiences. And thank you for taking your time to share them with us. I'm sure our audience will have something to make out of it, and will have a lot of time to go back and think about their own approaches and learning from your experiences. And so now, do you have any final comments or something that you would like to share with the viewers or the listeners?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me as part of this podcast. So IEEE SJCE has been a very significant part of my engineering life. All the people I've met there, all the team I've worked with, so it was fantastic. Thank you, first of all, for IEEE SJCE for making my engineering better or interesting. So that is there. And then thank you for the team for having me over today. So I just shared whatever experiences I had in college and whatever I had in work. I'm also learning continuously from all these experiences, and maybe today also was a great learning for myself from all the conversation we had here. So it was very good coming back. I felt like coming back to the college again. And then thank you, Naresh, for asking me all the relevant questions and keeping me on track. And thank you
Oh
for
yeah,
hosting this
absolutely.
podcast also.
Yeah, it's my honor to like be the host. So I'm happy to do this. And also for our viewers, if you have any feedback to share for regarding the podcast, what did you like, the aspects that you did not like, aspects that you think we from the IEEE SJC team should touch more upon or focus more upon, please let us know in via our Instagram handle. It's here, IEEE_SJC. And also, we have shared the link for Instagram in the comment box. You can find our link there. And moreover, I think this is like I'm speaking for Vivek here on behalf of Vivek. So I think he will appreciate, or he will not turn you down if you reach out to him personally. If you have any more follow up questions, you can find him on LinkedIn, and you can ask him any questions that you feel are related to something that you want to learn more about from him.
Yeah, sure. I would be happy to answer any of the questions you have. You can drop me a message on LinkedIn. It's the same name I have, Vivek Keshava, at LinkedIn also. So, yes, thank you at SJC again for having me as part of this podcast, and all the best.
Thanks, Vivek.
Yep. Bye.
Bye bye.